this! This is illegal! You're going to jail!
Ma'am, you parked in my garage.
A silver SUV stood trapped inside a locked garage. A furious woman yanked at the heavy chain, her face red with rage, while across the driveway, a tall man stood silently with his arms crossed. She had parked in his garage without asking, mocking his rights, mocking his home. What she didn't know was that this man had faced storms far stronger than her arrogance. And now, she was the one caught with no way out. The chain rattled against steel as the woman yanked and pulled. Her voice filled with anger rather than reason. She had stormed into his driveway earlier that afternoon, claiming that her status in the neighborhood gave her certain privileges. She ignored the boundaries of respect, rolled her car into his garage without permission, and when confronted, scoffed as though his words carried no weight. But now, her car was locked inside. He didn't shout, he didn't argue. He simply secured the chain across the garage door and stood in silence, his arms folded like granite, watching her desperation unfold. His quiet presence filled the street more than her outbursts ever could. This man had seen disrespect before. On battlefields far from this peaceful suburb, years earlier, he had worn the uniform of a soldier, carrying the weight of missions that stretched deep into hostile lands. He remembered the smell of burning sand, the sting of dust in his eyes, the trembling of earth when mortars fell too close. He remembered the long nights of silence after brothers did not return, the vows he made to honor their memory by living with dignity. When he came home, he asked for nothing more than peace. A small home, a safe place for his wife, the sound of laughter from children playing on the street. Yet peace, he knew, was not given freely. It had to be guarded. And sometimes, it was not bullets or enemies that tested it, but arrogance dressed as entitlement. The neighbors watched from their lawns. Some whispered behind closed windows, others lingered in silence, too afraid to step in. They had seen this woman before, demanding, belittling, parading her authority as if rules bent to her alone. She thrived on the silence of others, mistaking it for consent, but she had underestimated him. She slammed her hand against the garage door, turning to shout insults across the driveway. He did not move, his eyes were steady, his posture unbroken. He knew something she did not. True strength needs no noise. The tension rose like a storm cloud. Children peeked from behind fences. Mothers clutched their phones, unsure whether to call for help or simply watch. For a moment, it seemed as if the woman's fury might win. But then, the quiet man took a step forward, and in that step, everything changed. He spoke, at last. His words low and unshakable. Respect isn't borrowed, it's earned. The words carried further than any shout. The crowd shifted. The woman froze. For the first time, her power seemed to crumble. Neighbors stepped closer, emboldened by his calm resolve. An elderly couple from across the street moved to his side, and then another family followed. Soon, a quiet line formed, an aggressive, not violent, but united. They stood behind the man who had stood for them. The woman's hands trembled on the chain. Her car was trapped, her audience gone, her false authority exposed. She had played the role of conqueror, only to find herself cornered by the very community she had mocked. The soldier's silence had become a mirror, reflecting her arrogance back upon her, and in that reflection, she found no allies. Finally, she stepped back, muttering beneath her breath, her pride bruised deeper than any wound. The crowd did not cheer. They simply remained still, letting the weight of justice rest in silence. He unlocked the chain, not as a gift, but as a lesson. With deliberate calm, he swung the lock free and allowed her to drive away. As her SUV rolled down the street, the neighbors turned to him with quiet nods of respect. He had not needed anger, nor violence, to win. He had shown them all that sometimes the strongest answer is restraint. He looked once more at the garage, then at the fading sunset. The air smelled of cut grass and summer calm, but beneath it lay the reminder that peace is fragile, and dignity must be defended. Strength isn't about control, he said quietly, almost to himself. It's about what you choose to protect. The neighbors carried those words into their homes that night. The woman carried her shame, and the man, once again, carried his silence, because true warriors do not fight for attention. They fight for respect. This wasn't just a story about a locked garage. It was about the weight of respect, the power of silence, and the strength it takes to stand firm when others trample the line. If you believe dignity matters more than arrogance, share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. And if you want more stories that honor silent strength and true heroes, subscribe and join us again.